the landing page. So with Git, you can be able to keep track of these small incremental steps to progress. And if you are not utilizing Git, let's say, for instance, you are building this project and you wanted to do a collaboration between, let's say, two or more parties, the way that you're going to, let's say, share these files for each and everyone to be able to access them is maybe you zip the file and then you share it to your friend. Your friend ends up unzipping the file and then, yeah, they give it you back. But now the challenge is that the issues to do with, let's say, machine, let's say, for instance, you are developing using Java. So if you are to zip that file, send it to your friend, and then you have something in the Gradle whereby it's usually configured to your system. So if you share it as a zip file to your friend, then when they're trying to run the program, they're finding some errors. So, but if you're utilizing Git, then you can be able like to collaborate easily through the Git by pushing your code, let's say, to a remote server. I'll say I don't want to use remote repository or storage online, and then your friend can access from there, get the file from there, and then save it in their own local device. Another example is when you have a project, but you want to make some fix or corrections in your project. Then, if you're not utilizing Git, let's say you create a copy of that file, which you want to make the change. You make the change in that copy, and then you realize that in that copy there's an error which you need to fix. So you create another copy from the one that you have, you fix the error, and then you paste or you merge these two files. I don't want to use merge here. You combine these two files which you have copied with the main file which you copied from. Then when you try to run this problem, you realize, oh, so there's an error in the main file. I didn't fix it. I fixed it in the copied file. So now you're having problems. But if you're utilizing Git, you'll just create, let's say, an alternative way, what is known as a branch, let's say, for instance. And then from there, you diverge, you solve the problem from that branch, and then you connect it to your main branch, and then the issue is solved. So that is basically what it's about. And okay, so yeah, so this was the next step. That is the installation, I believe, which we have covered. And if I'm going fast, also feel free to tell me. Yeah, so we have the installation for different devices. Yeah, so for Mac, we have the Homebrew, install using Homebrew. And then the Windows, you have to utilize what Bash. For Linux, this is the command. Yeah, so Linux, we have you, Mac guys, also have you. Yeah, so and then after the installation, now you'll need to set up your account. So that you can be able to be connected with the GitHub, and that is through what is known as we are configuring our account. That is there's some commands which we use, and then we have some basic Git commands which we usually use, and we are going to cover during this session. So, for example, you have git clone, git add, commit, pull, and push. So, git clone is, for example, if you are a developer, you've been hearing like I'm developing a clone for a website clone for Tesla, website clone for Tinder for people who are dating, and yeah, so there's things like that. So Git clone is like taking a replica of the repository or a copy of the remote repo. So a repository is like your folder, online folder, and putting it locally, and then git add and commit. So this, for example, if you initiate Git in your local device, then you'll want to be able to keep track of the files. So you have created a folder, you have created your files there in your project. Then how will you keep track of these incremental steps? So this can be done by majorly these two commands, the git add and commit. So git add, it stages your let's say your changes. So by stages, it makes them available for the next step, that is the commit. So a commit is like it takes a snapshot of the repo, not a repo, the folders which you have created or the changes which you have made, and it stores them permanently. And then you can be able to revert back. So and then the last part is the git push or git pull. So git push is to like you tell the changes go away to that remote storage, and then they will go away. Yeah, and then so git pull is to like take all of them back without having to create a copy, so that you're pulling the changes like the way you just pull a string or something. So there are basically some commands which you usually use. So for git clone, we have use git clone and then the URL of the repository which you want. So by repository, I mean like a remote folder, okay? And then we have git commit. So git commit takes a parameter. So that is the message whereby you pass your message. And then an argument, not a parameter, an argument, and then git add, and then you can specify your file name. Else, if you want to add all the files, then you just say git add and then hash all. And then git pull, you just say git pull, and then you can specify the branch, and then git push, you just push to your remote repository. So in order for us to be able to utilize this CLI, there are some basic terminal navigation which we need to be able to know, and that is the CD. So that is to change directories, maybe either to move into a directory or move out of a directory. And then cut. So this can be used to view the file contents. Touch, you can be able to create files with, and then mkdir, you can be able to make a directory. So yeah. So, and then this is the test step, which you're going to create a new repository. So after you have installed Git, there is a part where it's supposed to initialize Git. So we are using Git init, and then you're connecting it with the remote repository. So there is supposed to be a connection so that it knows, yeah, because you can't have something in the server and there's no way of connecting it, right? Yeah, so we need to bridge that connection gap. And then for status, you can be able to check for your status, the Git status. And then you can also be able to check for the logs to see the tracking of or the comments which you have pushed. And yeah. Also, there's something to do with the branches. So as I was talking earlier about, let's say you have a single project which you want to make, let's say multiple fixes. So this can be done or can be achieved through the use of branches. So you can create a branch, you switch to that branch, create the fix, and then you merge that branch with the main branch or your main branch. So you're going to see this in action in, I guess, almost 1 minute. Yeah, so you're going to see this in action. And then there's something more about, let's say, merging and resolving a conflict. So this is in the case like you update your master branch, and then you want to be able to, you're working with multiple branches, and then you have this one branch that you updated and you want it to merge it with the different branch. So you want them to be like contain the same information, but if there's a the information difference, then you may end up having a conflict. So you git revert, you can use it to undo, and then review, you can use it to review the changes. So we are not going to cover this during this session. So these are aliases, stash, and cherry pick. But just to mention, you can be able to create aliases to make commonly used Git commands shorter. Aliases is like your name, shorter name, I guess. So we have the stash, so you can stash your changes so that they don't get lost. And then cherry pick, you can copy a commit from one branch to another. And then, so these are the commands. So I'm going to share the slides. If I'm going too fast, you can reference them. But yeah, I wanted just for us to go to the practical so that, yeah, you can be able to get a taste of it, okay? So this is just the conclusion parts of it. And yeah, so am I going too fast? Is everyone okay?
Yes.
Okay,
Um,
okay. Okay, so yeah, so I'm going to share my screen. So I believe everyone has been able by now to have installed Git on their devices. So I'm just going to share my entire screen at the moment. Okay. What are you seeing on the screen now?
Recursion.
Oh, that's odd. Okay, so Hamis, it depends with, let's say, your device. So are you utilizing, what is it? Are you using, let's say, Windows, Mac, or so if it's Windows, then you'll just install for the Windows. And so at this point, we are just utilizing the CLI part of it. So the next session is on Git using the VS Code, which Kezia is going to take us through. So, but at the moment, we are going to use this one. Still recursion?
Yeah, still recursion.
Oh, that's odd. So maybe I wanted to demo on how you get it, but yeah, so I can just share a single window, I believe. Yeah, so on your start button, if you're using Windows or on your search bar, just if you have installed Git, just search Git and then bash. That is for Windows. If it's not Windows, I believe it's already configured in your terminal after you install, so you can just apply it. So yeah, I'm going to share this terminal. Yeah, so can you see the terminal is blank or is it still recursion? Okay, yeah, that's good. Yeah, so at this point, we may want like to introduce you now to the world of terminals. So these are not hackers. Some of them usually just run Git commands in movies and you're surprised, but yeah. So as I mentioned earlier, there are some basic commands which you need to be able to familiarize yourself with to be able to utilize the CLI and Git together. So some of them are like CD. So CD is used to navigate from one folder to another. Okay. So you can say CD and then you specify the folder name. Okay, so for example, I want to CD into my desktop, then I can just use CD and then desktop. So then you click enter, and then you'll be able to see like at this point here. So you have like the file of the folder. So if you wanted to know the folder name which you are in or the directory which you are in, you can be able to say pwd, where it's usually used to mean print working directory. So that is your current directory. So from this, you can be able to see that I'm in the desktop. So after we have navigated into this folder, we want to be able to create a directory. Let's say, for instance, we are building a project. We want to store that project in a specific directory. So we say make directory, and then you specify the name. I'm just going to say sample. And then after that, you click enter. And then let's clear the screen. Then we can move into the sample the same way that we moved into the desktop. So we can use CD sample. And then at this point now, I want like to introduce another command, and that is in your normal user interface, like the Windows GUI, you usually use like you go into a folder, you can be able to see the files that are there. But at this point, you are seeing nothing. So how to list, let's say, folders that are in a specific or the files in a specific folder, use the ls, like that means list. So if you use ls, then it's supposed to give you a list of all the records. But for this case, there is none at the moment. So because there's none, I will introduce another command. We move back and then I list so that you can be able to see the difference now. So you can move into go to the folder. So there is what is known as cd and then two periods. So cd space two periods. So it takes you a folder back. Okay. And then so we are now at the desktop. We move from the sample and then you can use ls. So if I use ls, then you can be able to see, yeah, I have this list of files in this specific folder. So yeah, I can move now back into the sample. So from here now, we'll start our Git. So as I stated earlier, for us to be able to utilize Git in a specific folder and for it to be able to keep track of the files that are in a specific folder, we use what is known as Git init. We initialize for it to know I want to keep track of the files in this folder. So we use git init. So if you do that, you'll have like initialize an empty git repository. So after that, you can be able to, let's say, check or status. You can use git commands at this point. So for us to be able to do that, I'm going just to create a simple file. And so to create a file, we said we are using touch. I'm going to just do a simple HTML file. So we say touch sample.html, and then you can ls to be able to list them. So you can see, yeah, we have this file. And then there's another aspect where you want to be able to check the status of the files if they are being tracked and at what stage they are at. So you can be able to use git status. So at this, you can be able to see, yeah, you can be able to see that from the message that there are untracked files, and that is the sample.html. So if there are untracked files, how do you make Git to be able to track them? So that is what is known as staging. You add the files to the track of Git. I don't know if it makes sense. Yeah, so we can say git add, and then you specify your file name. Okay, so you specify the file name, and then if you click enter, it's going to track the changes which you have made. Are we together up to there? I guess I'm moving a bit faster because I guess I'm eating too much time and the other speakers. Yeah, so we have git add, and then so our file has been staged. So after the staging part, then you can be able to check the status. You'll be able to see that the file has moved from the red color to the green color. So it has already been staged. And then from the message here, you can see here, there are changes that need to be committed. So to committed is like to save them. Commit, saving, they are not so much different. Yeah, so these are changes that are needed to be committed. So at this point, I believe you're all together. Okay, good. Yeah, so after we have staged our files, then we need to commit them. And so there's this message for committing your Git files. So you say git commit, then you specify the message. So negative M stands for message in short. So, and this takes an argument. An argument is like, I'm not sure if any one of you has interacted with the function. So what you pass in the function, when you call a function that takes in a parameter, then you'll pass in the argument during the function call. So I'll say this like an initial commit. Are we together up to there? So you click enter, and then this is what you're going to have. Okay. Are we together up to there? Is everyone okay? Okay, that's great. Yeah, so we have been able to commit our changes. Okay, so is everyone been able to make the commit? Because if you haven't configured your account, I'm not sure you can be able to make a commit, but it's okay. We're going into that step. So the next step, which we want to be able to do, is to be able to push our code to a remote repository. So a remote repository, as I said earlier, is a storage. So for that, you need to be able to access GitHub. So we are going to GitHub now, not Git. So Git adjusts this. GitHub enables you to utilize the Git commands, and to utilize Git, and Git enables you to utilize the Git commands to interact with GitHub. So for that, you'll navigate into this link, GitHub. Just search github.io. GitHub. Wait 1 minute, I'm sending the link. If you don't have an account, then the link is in the chat box. Just go there, create an account. I believe 1-2 minutes, okay. And I'm eating too much time. I'm sorry. Yeah, so 1-2 minutes, okay. And then yeah, we can just maybe push our code into the GitHub, and then I invite the next speaker so that you can be able to take us through the rest of the topic.
Hello, Kadima.
Hello.
We've lost you.
Okay, hello. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Everyone can hear me, or I don't know.
Hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Maybe you can try to. I don't know. I don't know anything about it. So if you have been able to create an account, then I believe you can be able to continue to proceed. Stefan, okay? Can we proceed?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so after you've created an account, then I'm going to share my screen on so that you can be able to see how to create a new repo. So I guess I have to stop sharing and share again, because if I share everything, then everything just breaks. Yeah, so you can go into your GitHub. So if you're creating it for the first time, there will be no repository at the moment. So repository is online storage code or your files. So you can, this is the interface. So this class here, you can just click on it, then click new repository. Okay. Are we together up to there? And then you can specify your file name. I'm just going to call it sample. And then so you can either decide to make it public or private. So for this one, I'm just going to make it private. And then you can either add a README. So Kicha, I believe, is going to take you through most of these parts. And then, yeah, so after you have created the file, added the file name, then just click on create repository. Yeah, so after you've created the repository, these are the commands which you're going to have. So this is just like the starter for everything. So you can just copy it and paste it to a newly created folder, and then these are everything which are going to be created and instantiated for you. So for us, since we have already created our own folder locally, we have been able to add the files, and also we've been able to stage and commit the file. Then we are going to use the git remote add. So we are connecting our local files with the remote repository. Okay, so I just copy that command, and then you paste it on your terminal. You're not able to see my terminal. But that's the only command you're going to utilize at the moment. Okay, so I have to stop and reshare again. Sorry. Okay, so you just paste the command on your terminal. So so that should happen. So if you are installing Git for the first time, there are some things which you need to do, like configure your account to be connected with your remote repository. So for that to be able to be done, there's a command which you use, like git commit git config. A minute, yes, on the command. Yeah, git config. So you're supposed to configure your username and the password which you use in GitHub. So you can say user name, then you enter your name, your username, not your official name which you provided GitHub with. So the username which you're utilizing in GitHub. So like for Instagram, if you call yourself, I don't know, whatever you call yourself, yeah. So that username is what you're going to pass here. So username, you pass your username, and then you click enter. And then the same thing you are going to do with I haven't clicked enter because I have already configured Git on my device. So Git config, you add the username and then press enter, and then user.email, and then you enter your email. So this is your email. There's no like your user. I don't know the difference between your email and your user email, but yeah, enter your email, or if it's your user email also, yeah, enter that, and then you click enter. After that, I hope we're together. I'm not going too fast, and if I am, sorry. So after you press enter, then you just say git push. So you have to push your code to the remote repository. So remember, we started with staging our keeping initializing Git, and then we stage our changes, and then we did commit our changes, and now we want to be able to give it to the world. So you are brought into the world, you are raised, and then they released you to go to university. Now you are here. Yeah, so this is the same thing. You're going to push it to the world for people to see. So you're saying git push, and then so at this point you can be able to set which branches you're going to. Then so you can say set upstream. Then you can say maybe master, as that is the most common one used. So you can either use master or main, and then you press enter, and then the master will be sorted on its side. But if you have already done this step, so as I've done mine, you can just say git push and then origin master. And then your changes will go there online, and you'll be able to find them and showcase to your friends and show them how you're a hacker. So yeah, there's that. So if we come back to GitHub, then you can be able to see, let me just share my screen again. Can be able, if you refresh your screen, then you can be able to see, yeah, the file was added to my online or my remote repository. So for this, I don't think I'll be able to finish the rest of the presentation about Git merging and majorly to tackle about branching, or maybe I can just, yeah, we can do it in the next section because branching sometimes become a topic. Yeah, so we can go from there, and then I can invite you. So if there's any question, yeah, feel free to ask them in the chat. We'll respond to them after the entire presentation is done. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Kezia, feel free to take on.
Hello, Kiche will be taking the platform. He'll take us through GitHub workflows, and then I will end the session by by version control via VS Code. By VS Code. So Kiche, you're welcome.
All right, guys. So I really hope you can be able to get me. Okay, cool, cool. So I'll go ahead and I'll be able to share my screen. So that I don't know that you guys can now see me.
Not yet, Kiche.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. Now I'm sharing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll. I definitely hope we can be able to move from there. So thanks so much for such a good introduction. Definitely. Within the shortest time, I have my session going about in the next about 20 minutes. So within that kind of time, I'll be able to share. I had a little bit of what I really wanted to share here. Definitely, I'll be talking about the following three parts. that is merging, forking, and creating pull requests and collaboration, especially right now whereby we are at the session of Oktoberfest, whereby open source is definitely encouraged. So I really hope this particular type of session will be so much important into you identifying an open source project and getting to contribute based on what we are having here. So just as I told you, my name is Alan Kiche. I'm a developer and also a community advocate. In that kind of way as a GitHub campus expert. So that is it. We're just gonna get started almost immediately. Now, Kadema had taken us through a very awesome session. So I'd already created a repo because I saw what it was already doing. I just want us to go right into that. I don't want to redo the work because of the limited time, and then get us started almost immediately. Now, I've created that repo, and then I have just a minute. That is that. I'm gonna create. There's another folder I had created in my desktop. Let me just log onto it using my VS Code right here. Open with code. Cool. And then that is that. This is just but an empty repo, an empty something of the sort. So first things first, I'm going to connect because definitely we are going to do everything here from the command line. So one thing is that I'm going to have two particular type of repos. One is in my local repo, and then the other one will be the remote repo, and then we get to see how we'll be able to configure workflow between the remote, between the local repo and the remote repo. Definitely, I understand that maybe sometimes you will be using a different editor, maybe Atom or something of the sort, but particularly I always use VS Code for my particular instances. So yeah, that is all for this kind of case. So for the purposes of demo, I'm just going to have particularly two files here, index.html, and then we're gonna have index CSS, index.css, definitely for that basics. And I created a repo here. Just a minute, let me just clear that so that I only have few tabs remaining. I'd created a repo here, and Nane had taken us through one of the simple parts. So I just want this local repo. Definitely, I cannot be able to connect something that is empty, all right? So allow me to be able to add a simple HTML boilerplate in that kind of a way, and then add a H2 element. Just say git and GitHub section. That is enough for that, and then be able to open my terminal for that kind of way and be able to initialize right git init. That is our first step. All right, I've initialized an empty repo. That definitely one particular place that I wanted us maybe you guys, if you could be able to check out that always from this particular type of session, there are always three instances, three stages when it comes to definitely Git. We normally have one, the first untracked, and then we have unmodified, and then we have staged, and then after stage you'll be able to modify after staged, and then now we have the commits. So definitely that three: untracked, staged, and then commit. So I want to take us one by one through this particular type of three phases of Git so that you get to understand it. So what we are kind of right now, we are at an untracked, all right? So, but we've already initialized our repo right in this kind of place. So into our next will be to be able to first write a commit, but to be able to move into the second phase, which is the staging area, all right, we'll be able to write something called as GitHub. But before that, to be able to know the stage in which
Excuse Kiche. I don't think you're sharing the terminal. You are still on GitHub.
Oh, and I've been working all along on oh, that's unfortunate. I've been working all along on VS Code. So let me just stop sharing, and then I need to share the window, right? Is it the entire screen or the window? Oh.
The window.
Oh. So that when I shift, whatever I'm currently working on will be displayed.
Yeah, so it will display that window which you're sharing. So if you need to share, let's say for instance,
Okay.
you'll have to stop
Cool. I know definitely you understand what I'll be doing. So if in any case, just give me a heads up, okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So guys, I'm really sorry for that. So for the moment, maybe when I was not I was just on Git. This is what I was currently doing here. So I just created two files, index.css and index.html, and was able to just create a
Sorry,
boilerplate.
Kicha. Sorry, Kicha.
Yes.
You're in VS Code right now. So if
Yeah.
you're in VS Code,
Yeah.
you're still not able to see. You are showing the GDSC platform. You can just stop sharing and then you click on window.
Oh, why is it this causing me such big problem now? All right. I'm now on my VS Code. Can you see it?
So it's window and
Yes, you cannot see my VS Code, right?
yeah.
All right, cool. So I'm currently on VS Code. I'll be telling you exactly where I am.
No, we are not able to see your VS Code.
And what has happened? Right now, what are you seeing?
You're seeing the GitHub.
What about right now?
Still GitHub.
Okay, let me just share. Let me just share the window. Oh, this is really taking us time. Let me just share the entire screen. That will work. You can now see my VS Code.
Yeah, it's okay now.
You can now see my PowerPoint.
Yes.
Oh yeah, so that's what I wanted. I was changing them deliberately to get to see that. Guys, apologies for that. So what I essentially did, when you guys are not there, I created essentially a boilerplate that is shift and exclamation in VS Code, and then I generated that, and then I did a H2 just to have something right there, and then I'd be able to say git and GitHub session. So guys, I'll because of time, I'll really try to be able to get in a hurry. So I talked about three stages. Currently we are on track stage, and I'd have already initialized my repo. The next we'll be able to get to see at what stage am I. Then I'll be able to put on the write down that command git status to be able to get to see. So when it shows that we have red, that means it's on track. All right, we now put them to the staging area, git add. All right, so definitely after that, I need now to commit it, take it to commit it, now move into the third phase of git. I talked about untrack, then stage, and then the second one, which is that. So git commit I'll be able to say initialized my first repo, right? And all that. So I have already committed it. Now, the second part is to now be able to connect it, to connect my local repo with my with my remote repo, right? And this is normally the link. So I want you guys to understand something. Here we are at the branch main, all right? But currently I'm working on my master, and I don't really want to move to the other branch. Definitely I'm going to show all kind of that. But now I'll be able to just copy that link and then put it right there. And then, yeah. So finally, I've already connected my local repo to my remote repo, and then to the final one, the final which is git push u origin main. All right, we have git push u origin main. Got it? Is it connected? No, it should be master. Git, because I'm on the branch master, git push you origin master. Right, so depending on that and all that. So when you come and we be able to refresh our repo here, then you get to see the commit message and the files that are initialized right there. So this means that we've connected our local repo to the remote repo, that kind of way. So I talked about working on three particular type of issues. One, I talked about working on merging. You do remember that merging. So currently, let's deal with that, guys. Merging and branches. So the first particular part that it's normally Control L. The first particular part that normally comes here, you cannot be able to merge without branches. So I want us to be able to create a branch. And how do we create a branch from the CLI? Then we'll be able to use, definitely I have this, thanks so much, Karima, for having shared the Git cheat sheet. So definitely, guys, you can be able to download it there and then be able to check out those commands as we go along. I hopefully all this will be there. So we'll be able to put on click on Git checkout B, and then what is the name of that particular type of branch? Let me use this branch action one. So what that means is that what this particular type of means is that I've created another branch, and at the same time I've checked out, right? I've moved into the other branch. That's why you can be able to see right now I have Git action right there. Let me just create a couple more because we're going to use them. Another one maybe Git checkout B, and then we have action 2. All right, let me just create another one. So I've already created a branch action 2, and I've already and then I've already moved into that. So what if I want to work on the master branch? Then I'll be able to come back and just say git checkout, sorry, git checkout master, and then switch to the branch master, which is updated into kind of that. If you want to get to see all the branches that you have, you just put in the command git branch all, and then it gives you have action 1, action 2, and then this is definitely on the remote one. So when it definitely comes to this particular part, the reason why I created branches like a branch is just a copy of what is in the main. So currently, as you can be able to see, all these files that are initialized and the changes that I made right here were on the master on the master branch. All right. But now, assume you're collaborating more than 2 or 3 kind of people. You guys are not definitely one person is working on. Let me get to see. One person is working on the index CSS file, and then the other person is working on the index.html file. We don't want to be able to push all our codes towards in the master branch, because definitely it's not a good workflow. At the end of it, what we want to ensure here is entirely to enhance good workflows and ensure that the contribution, we have good practices as it comes to contributing and working in such a kind of a way. So what normally happens here, let me get to assume, you have, let me work on maybe, want to say I want to work on index.css, all right? So I'll be able to come here, and then I'm on the master branch, git check out into action 1, all right? I'm currently right there. And then now, because I'm tasked with working on a CSS file, let me just create some little file and then say right there, margin 0. So I've created this on that particular type of action on this particular type of action. How do you call it? The action branch. All right. So I'll be able to come here and be able to say git status. Let me get to see track. I'd modify that and that. First, this particular type of index.html file, we had already created everything within that. So we need to ensure that we pull we pull, just a minute, we'll be able to, we have Git status right there. So we have two files that are have not been tracked here. We have the index.css and then index.html. So we'll be able to add them into the staging area. And then we have Git status. They're already modified, all right? This one we are now currently working on a separate file. Yeah, that is that. And then we have Git commit. We say added CSS and all kind of that. And then we can be able to say git push. We'll be able to say git push, the name of the file, origin action one, right? We've already pulled right there. So that means when we come right to our repo, we can be able to see something that has happened in such a kind of a way. Can you be able to see that now? Can you now be able to see my repo?
Yes,
yes, we can see it.
Yeah, so what this means, I want you guys to be able to understand. Alan was working on index.css file, and then Kadima was working on index.html file. He doesn't know exactly what I'm doing. I'm the only one who understands CSS. I don't understand HTML. So if I work directly on the master branch right here, right here, what that means essentially is that I'm pushing every change at the direct, and that's not a good practice. So I move into create another copy, which is another branch, which is the exact copy of what we have, and then we'll be able to push it right here. So that when I come right here, and then I have now to create a pull request, all right, and be able to tell guys, you know what, we are collaborating on this. I've added some CSS files, and definitely right there, if there were some reviews, I think I need to first add and show you guys how to add something. Just come here and then let me add guys as collaborators on this. So allow me add people who can give me maybe a username or GitHub username, just very fast, and then you accept it, log
Cleo
into your
Cyber.
cyber.
Cleo Cyber. Cleo Cyber. Cleo hyphen cyber. Let me just, yeah, hyphen cyber.
Yeah. So just get into your email, accept the invite, and then we push this, bro. So when I compare and pull requests, I need to have him right here so that I'll be in a position to assign him once he accepts that. But maybe right now I can still maybe assign myself. Is that possible? Once you've already accepted that request, you can let me know, Kadima.
Done. I've accepted.
Cool. So guys, you can see Cleo Kadima is right here. Maybe you're working with him. So I can assign him right there to be able to review this particular work that I've done, all right? And then I'll be able to create a pull request. And then I'll be able to create a pull request. So when I create a pull request right there, I need you, Kadima, to get to review it. Just come somewhere I've already opened, get to review it, and if you're satisfied, then we'll be able to merge it at that end. Is it possible on your end, or I just go ahead because of time?
It's okay, you can go ahead. Okay.
Oh yeah. So I assume Cleo has reviewed my code and everything is okay now. I can be able to merge that particular type of pull request right there, and then yeah, that is it. And we've ensured that now. What this means definitely is that I had a copy of the file on the action branch, but now I have merged it to the master branch. All right, to mean that all my particular files are now on this particular type of master branch. But then, sometimes you are always people are always not that nice. So you'll always find that these people who work who do something directly on the master branch, all right? So he doesn't know you're working in you're collaborating. So and then there's this guy who just pushes codes on the master branch. So let me just go to the master branch and check out something. We want to create a scenario whereby somebody has made a change. So let me assume somebody here came here and added a third-party index.html .js. All right. Let me just tell it to generate a JS file. Let me just assume something like that, right? Just a simple stuff. If you're not sure of that, I'm using something called GitHub Copilot. So this particular type of person has made that particular change on the master, and then he has already pulled it. So let's get to see git add. Let me just go super fast, and then it says git commit JS file, right? But then I didn't know that this person did something like that. So I'll come personally and then maybe work on a separate branch, git checkout. Just a minute. Let me create another branch, git checkout. Let me create another file, action3, all right? I didn't know that this person had made this particular type of change. So what do I do? Definitely, there's nothing. So I'll be able to make a change right here. Maybe come onto my index file. Now this is clean. Let me say because I was working on the index.css, the original file I was working. Yeah, and then I've also added my file. So I say git, let me first track it, and git add, and then git commit m, added CSS because that's what I'm working on. And then I'll be able to say git push u origin action3. I think, wait a minute. So it should be able to create, there's a kind of a merge conflict. I was trying an instance of merge conflict, but definitely I'll be able to figure out that in our next one. So that is what I wanted to talk about on that. And then the next part I really wanted to move out is particularly on forking, and then I'll come and figure out that very last part right now. So assume we are, you want to work on an open source project. So assume maybe as Alan Kitch, I've made this an open source file. And then when I've made it an open source file, I want you guys, maybe you want to contribute to it as somebody else. How are you going to contribute to this particular type of file? It will be difficult to be able to contribute on this particular file when I've not allowed you to. So the only way in which you can be able to contribute to it, because definitely I've made it an open source file, is on my public repo, but you cannot be able to like download it or let me say be able to clone it or download it right here and be able to push changes. So what you're going to do here is to be able to fork the file. So that is what essentially it means. So you are really getting this from my repo, that is Kichi Alan, into your own repo. So assume maybe somebody else was right there, you'll be able to fork it, and then when you'll be able to fork it and then create a fork, let me just create a username. So right now I cannot be able to do that because I am the own person right there. I am my own person. I wish I had created another different one. So you'll be able to create a new fork. Once you'll be able to create a new fork right there, and then let me just get to somebody's somebody is and just be able to explain something. Can you repeat your GitHub profile, Kadima?
Cleo Cyber.
Cleo Cyber. So assume I really want to. I really hope you've made all this open source nice and all that. So I really want to contribute. I want to be part of. This particular one. Initially, guys, I do apologize. You cannot create fork your own repo, right? And I'm sorry, I never created a different repo using a different username before. Yeah, and all that. And because of time, I can't create that at the moment. So allow me just to use Cleo Cybers to be able to explain how we're moving forward, especially on open source right now that we guys are going to contribute on open. We are on the season of Oktoberfest. So definitely there are very many open source organizations. We have outreach. They're quite so much. You'll want to get into that. But one thing you get to note is when it comes to open source, there's always that particular type of documentation on how to get started. So assume I really want to contribute into this particular kind of part. I'll be able to first fork it, and then when I fork it, create a fork. And then what that means now, I've created this particular repo onto my repo. So what that means right now is that I definitely own it. So I can be able to clone it into my own repo. All right. So I'll just be able to open up Git bash, and then we have. Let me find. Just a minute. There's no that kind of file in that. Let me just create a different file in my. I'm that person who normally uses GUI at times. So yeah, let me just say maybe I have this particular different a different folder, DSA, and then open with VS Code. So I want to clone that particular type of repo and begin working on it on my local machine. So just a minute. So I'll be able to come right there and then click git clone and then have. So I'm essentially cloning this particular type of data into my file. So I already have it right here. So I can be able to get to initialize my work. Wait, just a minute. I have to connect it first to git clone. So that is that. And then I'll be able to initialize my repo, and then I'll be able to add them. Sorry. Okay, no problem. It's already embedded. And then yeah, so I can be able to essentially begin contributing from this particular type of place. So that's what I really wanted to handle. I'm saying because of time, I really need to allow Wahome to come in. But definitely that's the entire workflow especially when it comes to Git merging and the entire part. So I think when it comes to demo, I can be able to stop from there because of time, and then allow Wahome because of time to take in from that point.
Thank you so much, Alan and Cleo. Those were very insightful sessions. So as I go ahead and sort of summarize what they have shared with us, if you have any question, if you faced a hitch when trying to install Git and doing the workflow, add your questions to the Q&A. We'll have a session where we'll answer the questions. So Kiche, you're still sharing a screen?
All right.
Thank you. So I'm going to do sort of a summary how to do version control using VS Code. Alan Kiche has a bit presented on that, so mine will be on a summary based, so that we look and we focus on what Cleo has shared and Alan has shared. So let me share my screen and let me know whether you can see the screen.
Yep.
Okay, you can see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, cool. So a bit about myself. I'm Kezia Wangeshi, and Wahome, you can call me Wahome. I'm a current student and GDSC lead at African Leadership University, and I'm glad to join you for this session. So mine will be just a summary, so that a summary from what Cleo had shared and Kicha has shared with us. So most of us, this is usually our local computers. We have files all over the computer, so many files and folders. So how do you get to move these files in your local computer, local repository? So these folders are local repositories into GitHub using VS Code. So that's my presentation today. So according to what Cleo has shared, we have already learned how to install Git. You can check the version that you have by typing Git version on your terminal. And we will also do this on VS Code terminal. To Mac and Linux users joining us, the Git is usually pre-installed, so you just have to check Git version. And I also saw a question on when it asks when you're installing, and then you get the question, choose the default editor. It's either Vim or other editors that you use, and you can use VS Code because VS Code is also an editor compatible with Git. And then you create a GitHub account. Cleo had presented on that. So you can configured your GitHub account well by typing by typing this command, git config global user.name, and then you get your username. So this is the same username for GitHub and your username for Git. You can also confirm your email by also typing on your terminal, either Git terminal or VS Code terminal, git config global user dot email, and then you get the email that you're using. So as I'm going through, you can try and do that so that when we go to the lab, it will be we will be catching up together. So let's get to work. So this is the labs that I had prepared, and Alan has presented on creating when you have a local repository. So a local repository is the folder in your computer, and then that local repository, you can open it with VS Code. So VS Code will act as that intermediary from your local computer to GitHub. And then the next lab will be, we have seen how to create a repository, and then that repository, you will then clone it in your local repository that is in the folder that is in your machine. And then the next lab will be to push your files, So we'll just go through that bit. Yeah, so so let me share my my VS Code. I hope you can see it.
Nope.
Oh, you see it. Sorry.
Just
You can see it.
just do this. I think one thing that helped me, I was having a bit of that problem. Ensure you share the entire screen.
Okay. Have so many tabs. Yeah, no worries. Cool. So yeah, let's get started. So just like Kitchen, I had gone ahead and created a local repository. So my folder is called version control lab. My computer, it's a folder, and had gone ahead and created repository on GitHub, so you can see it. So this is the repository. When creating it, I'll just be doing a bit of summary from what had been shared. So from creating it, I didn't create a README, I didn't create anything, so I just created repository. So from here, how do we connect the two? So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so this is my sorry, this is my VS Code. So we can start by confirming our username. If you had, you can try and username. So let me go ahead and type global config sorry, user.name. Oh, missing global, sorry. So git config yeah, and we can confirm that. So this is just confirming whether you have installed your Git properly. So as you can see, that's the username of my Git. So we're going to do the same thing for email and confirm the email. So you can always do this and confirm your usernames, your username and your email. Email. And this is my email that I use for Git and also GitHub. So we are going to go ahead and start by creating a README. I'll create a README because we didn't create a README when creating the repository, and the README will be a file in the local folder. Okay, so you can create by doing echo. This is just a command. There are other commands, but you can also always use this one. Echo sample code, or let me just say git workflow workshop. So this is going to be a workshop. Oops, sorry. This is going to be a text in the README, what I've put in brackets, and then create the readme.md. And so the command echo creates a file. So it has created a file, and you can go ahead and use echo to create git ignore and also to create your license. So in the local folder, I'm going ahead and initialize the Git repository, do a git init. It tells me that I have initialized an empty repository. So it means in my local folder, so in my machine, that folder has a Git. And now we are going to move from there and now connect it to the GitHub. I can do git add, and add all the files, git add space dot, and add all the files that I have within my VS Code. So this is going to add all the files, and they are added. So let's do git status and see. Creo had covered these and see whether we have staged them. So this shows that we have staged them and the files are ready to go. How Git works is like you're serving something and it's already on the plate. You want to take it to people who are waiting to eat that food. So we have already staged the files. So I'm going ahead and do the commit. I hope you can all follow. It's a bit of a summary Kiche had done. So git commit first commit. Init, I'm going to add init because it's an initialization, and then first commit. Okay, comment, first commit, and then commits the files that I have done. So remember, we have not yet created branches on our Git repository on GitHub. Let me share that. it's just like this, so it doesn't have anything. And the default branch is usually math. So we are going to create that branch from our local, from our directory. To create that, you do git branch m main. This means we are moving from master to main, and we want to make main our default branch. I think my computer is hanging a bit. Okay, I hope you're still following. If you have questions, kindly add them in the Q&A. We will look at them. This is just, as I keep saying, a summary so that we catch up on what Kiche had shared and Cleo had shared. So I'm also going to do a git remote add origin, sorry. So what this means is that the local repository branch is usually the origin. So that's where we are taking the files from and taking them to main. So git add origin. So I'm adding origin to main. Okay, I'm adding origin to main. And as you can see, I'm getting quite an error. This is because I did not specify adding origin to. What you do here, you'll come and copy these URL, copy, and then the same command, git remote add origin to this repository. And we have added it to that repository. So I'm going ahead and push. So to push is we are completing everything and we are dusting it off. So git push upstream origin main. So origin to main. Origin is the local repository, main is the GitHub repository. Yes, and we have pushed our files, which is gitworks, go, and readme. We can confirm from the repository whether we have pushed everything, and let me know whether you can access my screen. So as you can see, we have pushed everything, and that's the bit of GitHub version control from VS Code. You can also do it from here. I hope you can see this small icon here called source control. So every time you do a change on this file, it shows on that bit. Let me delete that. It should show that we have something to change. So changes will appear here, and you can always add and commit them and add your commit message from that point. So that's a bit on. So that's a bit on controlling version control from VS Code. I hope you have followed, and if you have questions, kindly put them in the Q&A. So these are some of the commits I used, and some commands that I used, and some commands that you should know to get started with version control from VS Code. So these are the commands. So tips on making good commits. As Kiche said, we are having Oktoberfest is open, and it's a time to contribute to open source community. So these are some points when you're making good commits. So one, always specify the topic. So instead of just saying init commits, or I'm making some updates, first make it a topic. So you'll say fit. Fit means feature, fix is a bug, docs, and then style, refactor, test. Use these keywords, and then now you can add a short description on what that commit means. So these are some things that will make your commit stand out, and any other person looking at that commit or that contribution to open source, they'll directly know what exactly you're committing. And to show what I mean, so I hope you can see my VS Code. So here I made a commit. It was my first commit. So init, first commit. If it was a fix or a change, you can say change. This is what I did when you're making the commit to make your contribution to the open source more more precise to other contributors and other open source members who are looking at the work. I hope we're still together. So this is just a meme. So this is me and you, those who don't contribute much to GitHub. This is just a joke. So I hope we will move from the first place and contribute much to open source, and so that our GitHubs can look like the other second phase. Because they say one pull request, or that one push you make into open source pushes your career further and further. So that's just about my presentation. And I want to thank Alan Kitcher, I want to thank Cleo, and I want to thank everybody for listening and what you have contributed. And that's my presentation on the beat. I'll welcome Cleo Kadima to look at the to look at the Q&A. If there are other questions, you can answer from the Q&A and ask questions so that we can look at them. Thank you so much.
Hi, thank you, Kezia. That was really good. Yeah, so that's all from us. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Do not be afraid. Your answer is just one. Enter away. Send those questions. I'll give it like some 1 minute. If there's none, then yeah, we'll call it a day.
I see a question, Cleo. Somebody is asking, Ryan is asking, should commits message be in the present tense?
Okay, so for this question, I'll want to direct it to Kiche. Can give you a hint about this.
The reason why it needs to be in the present tense, you're working as at that moment, all right? When you be able to create a pull request, it is at that particular instance. It's not like definitely you're working on something and then you did, but depending, maybe perhaps you had worked on maybe it depends on the context. Now here we talk about more of context. You worked on something but then you didn't push it somewhere maybe 3 hours ago, and you want to be precise because maybe the organization or that particular type of collaborative environment that you're working on definitely do considers time as a big deal, as an important factor. So yeah, you can be precise, but most of the entire workflow, I think, is something that you are working on as at that moment. So you just say it added something if you want it like add this, but I don't think the tense really matters. What is more important is communicating more about what you've done, because at the end of it, whether you've written in the present or past, at the end of it, it has to be reviewed by that person, which shows that maybe if the reviewer has not reviewed it, it doesn't matter whether the message was in past or present, right? Yeah. So the most important thing here is really not to that is when engaging in writing the particular messages, especially when it comes to pull requests. I don't the tense doesn't matter as much.
Thank you for that,
I don't
Alan.
know whether that has that is into context. Thanks so much, Ryan.
Yeah, so if there is no other question, I'll say thank you. So if you have any other, let's say a follow-up question, but you're afraid of asking in public, or is it in public? No. Yeah, online. Yeah. So feel free, you can reach out to any of us. If you're not in the group, feel free to reach us, on LinkedIn, the same usernames. So yeah, and thank you for attending the session. And maybe if, yeah, so those are LinkedIn profiles. Feel free to reach to any one of us, connect, interact. And thank you for Adrian, our GDSC lead, for also enabling this to be able to take part, and also the entire team for the marketing and everything. Yeah, so we are really grateful. And yeah, thank you people from Philippines. We are so happy to have you in this session. Yeah, so I believe that's all, and we can call it a day.
The session, if our members are able to turn on their camera or yeah, but no pressure, we can take a picture.
Turn on your cameras, people. Let's see who you are.
What about introverted people like we?
So it's not a must. Yeah, so if you're not okay, then yeah, it's okay. Teacher, you have already turned on the camera. It's not going back.
All right, I can see Caroline. Hi, Caroline. Hi, Kezia.
Hi.
Oh, that's cool. I'm waiting for Inani. You are the one who is telling us to open our cameras. Why are you?
I'm using a pinhole camera, you can't see.
Oh, but definitely, it's been nice connecting with you guys. I've gotten to see we have a very Paul, Jermaine, Angela, Joy, maybe just to mention a few, Miss Seng, Genevieve, Priya, Adrian, Join. I mean, all the way from Philippines, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. We from Kenya, and yeah, and then also get to recognize Caroline Muremi, who was also an ex GDSC lead for Moi University. That's currently my university. Yeah, thanks so much, Caroline, for joining in. All right, that's for me, guys, at this end. So happy to connect with you all, guys, from the chat. Those are amazing messages. Cool.
I believe that's all.
Nice one.
Okay, yeah, so
Bye.
you can feel free to go, whether it's lunchtime in Philippines, yeah, go have lunch. If it's sleep time, go sleep. Good night. If it's breakfast, good morning, and yeah, enjoy your day. And see you on another session.